Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all of the news throughout the day that I come across, giving you my take on it as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Thank you, everyone, for checking out this episode. It is episode 79, I believe, and today is June 14th. It is Saturday. Today was No King's Day, along with Trump's birthday parade. Just finished watching the parade broadcast. Overall, not very interesting, kind of depressing to watch, honestly. But we'll have more news on that later. Um, you know, Overall, been an interesting day. I think the one most interesting thing about that parade, before we get into the news, was it was constantly said or mentioned that it was Trump's birthday. Like throughout the parade, it was honestly very clear that it was a birthday parade. And even though Trump claims that it wasn't, it seemingly felt like it. His birthday was mentioned by anyone who spoke at the event, and the entire news broadcast that I watched NBC's broadcast. Um, they mentioned Trump's birthday multiple times. I don't know if other news agencies did as well, but it was just the first thing I could find on TV actually broadcasting the parade. So yeah, with that being said, let's get right into today's news recap. Opening up into some unfortunate news, as the first segment we have today is there has been an attack on two Minnesota lawmakers and their families. Two Democratic Minnesota lawmakers have been shot at, one was pronounced dead. Prominent Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota have been shot at along with their families in the early morning hours. Senator John Hoffman and his wife were both shot at multiple times but made it out of surgery. Tim Walz, the state governor, said he was cautiously optimistic they would both survive. Unfortunately, that was not the case for Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, who have both tragically passed away. Walz said the shooting appeared to be a politically motivated assassination. According to local police, the suspect 57-year-old Vance Boylter, I believe that's how you pronounce that, drove a vehicle identical to an unmarked police car and pretended to be a police officer. The man had a manifesto listing multiple other lawmakers and officials found in the vehicle, and there were also No King's Day flyers on the passenger seat. According to local reporters, the gunman was a Trump supporter and a Republican. This is a horrid and unfortunate situation. Our nation has continuously faced assassination attempts on political leaders for years, and this is proof that gun violence in this country is a problem. My condolences to the family of the representative and her husband who have passed, and I wish a speedy recovery to Senator Hoffman and his wife. Bolter must be captured and arrested. This shouldn't be allowed. It's been interesting, all of the recent attempts on killing a politician. Of course, we've had these two Minnesota senators, and even going all the way back to when there was an assassination attempt, on Trump's life. All of those people have been Republicans. It's really interesting to see that right wing. What's the word? Right wing extremists. That's the word, are the ones committing these attacks. It says a lot when you see all of the progressive left wing people protesting peacefully, but you see all of the right wingers actively attacking politicians. And I know that's like a really big generalization, but nobody on the left has made an attempt on anyone recently, and for the most part, it's been Trump supporters or right wingers. So I think it's really interesting, that is the case. I didn't want to make that political. It's a very unfortunate situation, but I figured I would address that since that seems to be a popular trend. But moving on into the Trump administration segment, as Trump did make a statement on the shooting. Trump has made a statement on the attack against two Minnesota lawmakers. In a post on Truth Social, he wrote, "I've been briefed on the terrible terrible shooting that took place in Minnesota, which appears to be a targeted attack against state lawmakers. Our Attorney General Pam Bondi and the FBI are investigating the situation, and they will prosecute anyone involved to the fullest extent of the law. Such horrific violence will not be tolerated in the United States of America. God bless the great people of Minnesota, a truly great place. This clearly was, a horrific action that shouldn't be tolerated. Of course, the last time Trump made a comment on a similar situation of a tragedy with lawmakers, it was Biden's cancer, and the next day he turned back to shitting on the former president. So hopefully, that won't be the case here. Of course, that was very unprofessional, and especially when a lawmaker and her husband have both passed away, I would hope that isn't the case, but we all know how Trump rolls. I wouldn't be shocked. But outside of that horrid situation, truly, so my condolences to all of the, family or friends of the people involved in that situation. Moving on into some more better news, Trump has told ICE to stop enforcement at farms and hotels. The Trump administration has directed ICE officers to pause arrests at farms, restaurants, and hotels. Tatum King, an ICE official, wrote to regional leaders telling them to halt investigations of the agricultural industry, including meat packers, restaurants, and hotels. This, of course, comes after Trump expressed that changes were coming. This is some great news, especially for farmers and their workers, but it isn't enough. Deportations need to be stopped as a whole, so keep speaking out and keep fighting for what's right, because we mustn't rest until this ends. Expanding on that not being enough, I believe that we should also be providing higher wages and rights and opportunities for these farm workers, meat packers, restaurants, and hotel workers, especially farm workers. Many of those workers are horrifically underpaid for the work they do. So after this administration comes to an end, I would like to see more opportunities for those individuals and, higher wages and along with a better immigration system, so many more things, because they're truly the backbone of American society. Don't bite the hand that feeds you, as they say. And I strongly believe, as somebody who is a farmer born and raised and who has had the opportunity to work with multiple amazing people in the fields, it's something they deserve. They truly should be paid more. Moving into the Trump administration parade and the protests, we have two segments here today. I kind of just lumped everything together because if I didn't, it was going to be just a bunch of like 1 to 2 sentence little things. So let's get right into it. Trump's parade. So this is a recap on basically the parade. Today there was the Army's 250th year anniversary parade, also known as the Trump Birthday Parade. The parade has displayed different eras in the U.S. military, from the Revolutionary War to the Gulf War and all the wars. There were demonstrations from troops of all kinds in the Army, including paratroopers, machine operators, and so much more. Trump did give his remarks at the end of the event. It wasn't a very political speech. It was mostly just a speech talking about the Army and congratulating them, which was a shocking thing, but, I think that's what was needed for this event. As mentioned at the start of this video, time and time again, it was mentioned that it was Trump's birthday, which I think wasn't shocking. Realistically, I do believe that this was an event for Trump, and for himself to celebrate his birthday, because that's how Trump rolls. I mean, let's be real on that one. He is not the type of guy that wouldn't do anything if it didn't serve his own interest. But I was watching Trump's speech as of writing this, and honestly, the parade was depressing. The cheers were small and the crowds were empty. Overall, the main parade was fine, nothing too interesting, but the No King's Day protests were definitely way more entertaining. Entire city blocks were full. I saw a lot of videos from San Diego and California mostly, but San Diego's parades were beautiful. Beautiful to see. I saw a lot of, up top shots of the protesters. Entire city blocks were filled. Like, you couldn't see a gap. The only place you could see a gap was where the, not the train, I'm blanking on the name, and that's really unfortunate because I'm really into trains. The trolley, like Toby from Thomas the Train. Not really, but the trolley was really the only area where protesters weren't at, which is a good thing. Don't want protesters getting hit by trains, or anything of that matter. So, but it was good to see that people were more interested in the No King's Day parades than they were in Trump's parade, or protests than they were Trump's parade. My apologies. Moving back into that No King's Day protest, in contrast to Trump's parade, people around the world have protested against kings and Trump. Millions of people across the world have come out to protest. There has only been one instance of violence as a man intentionally drove an SUV through the crowd of protesters, striking at least one person in Culper, Virginia, but that seemingly was the only issue. The protesters remained overwhelmingly peaceful and even dispersed from parade areas at the White House at the White House before Trump's parade began. Some even say the No King's Day protest was the largest protest in American history, and the numbers may have even gotten up to 5 million Americans protesting, which is insane. Of course, the current United States population is around 317 million, I want to say, maybe 27. I know it ends with a 7, I'm pretty sure, which is a big number, but 5 million is a lot of people, especially throughout the country when you take into account for children, and all the people who are against the Trump administration actively living in the United States. 5 million people is so much. So it was really beautiful to see. The protests were amazing to watch and see all over social media. It was amazing to see how many Americans and people around the world came out against kings and the Trump administration. So keep speaking and keep fighting for what you believe in. We, the people, can make a difference, and we will. But yeah, with that being said, that's all the news we have for today. Weekends are normally a little slower, so, that's kind of just how it goes. Thank you everyone for watching this video. If you're on YouTube, consider subscribing, dropping a comment down below. Let me know your takes on, all the things that happen throughout the day. I'd love to hear your guys' comments and responses to things as well. Of course, we're on our way to 500 subscribers, so hopefully we can hit that by the end of the summer. So share the channel with your friends, family. If you're on Substack, please consider pledging your support. I'm going to college shortly, so all funds go to me. They'll help me pay for the things that I'll need to pay for in college, like food, clothing, all that kind of stuff. But if not, you can always subscribe for free. I truly do appreciate all forms of support on this content. I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you all so much. Thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you all in tomorrow's episode. Later.